Assalamu alaikum everyone. So, recently there's been a bit of debate, I suppose, about whether if there's a crisis of masculinity or not. And here I'm going to provide actual physiological evidence. I don't think anyone can deny what I'm going to provide, because it's literally statistics data. And hopefully you can follow through. Okay, so, you can find, I don't know how many studies, however many studies that you want, that actually show that there's been a downtrending of serum testosterone over the years. So when we look at the decades, yeah, and this is even if you control for the same age group. Obviously, older men tend to have lower testosterone than younger men, but men of the same age cohort now, as opposed to let's say 50 years ago, would have less testosterone. So I'm just going to go and provide the conclusion for this. And by the way, if you guys don't know how to interpret literature or epidemiological studies, then just you're going to have to bear with me, but I've left all the references here on the screen, so by all means, go and have a look. So the first one, this was a study on another large cohort, 100,000 males. Their conclusion was, okay, by the way, that p-value essentially, when we're talking about statistics, it means that there's a 0.001 chance that the differences in the statistics in the two groups was due to pure chance, yeah? So it's highly statistically significant that this is not due to pure chance. So what they say is there's a prominent trend, okay, in the decline of testosterone that's age independent. Okay, now let's move on. Again, by all means, go and have a look at the source and read it for yourself. Here's another one. This one, they're actually comparing the grip of the hand. Now you might be thinking that's weird, why would we compare hand grips? That's associated with one's dominance and one's perception of where they lie within the dominance hierarchy, how firm they are to shake another person's hand. That, surprisingly, has gone up in females and gone down in males. So yes, okay, there is an emasculation of males. Okay, we're not going to talk about the masculinization. So there's feminization in males, but there is also indeed a masculinization in females. We're not talking about that for this video. Now, another one. I've just copy and pasted this. So, a new study has found a substantial drop in the United States men's testosterone since the 1980s, but the reasons remain unclear. Interesting. Okay. Again, does not appear to be age-related. Okay, so it's saying here, it's telling you about the drop. So this is found in the US as well. Now, look at this. This is another study. By the way, this one, you can go and just have a look at the link and read this. So, we know that it's not just a simple sort of metric, by the way, when we're measuring this, okay? There are other hormones and hormone proteins that bind them that play into account the total sort of expression of the androgenic effect or the effect of testosterone-like hormones. Okay, so sex hormones such as testosterone, estradiol are involved in a number of age-related health problems, including cancers, loss of bone strength. However, susceptibility to these diseases varies from country to country. Okay, this is strange. So, men living in Asia are less likely to develop prostate cancer than those living in US or Europe. Meaning, there's something that is aside from the nature or the genetics of the people. Yeah, Asian men in Asia are less likely to develop prostate cancer than Asian men in US or Europe. Okay. Same thing happens here in some African populations that live in the Caribbean. Okay, they looked at serum testosterone levels. There was a 16 here. Here's the article. So, after adjusting for the men's age and body mass, okay, the team of these researchers, what did they find? Total testosterone level was similar in men from Sweden, Tobago, and the US. They were 16% higher in men from Hong Kong and Japan. The Japanese men also had a high level of testosterone binding hormone, so less testosterone. So what happens is what they're talking about is, you can't just look at total testosterone and be like, okay, so that's the total androgenic effect within the organism. What you have to also take into account is SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin. And this protein binds these steroid hormones that we have. Progestins, estrogens, and androgens, including testosterone. So what we're finding is that even the countries who have, so look at the Japanese men, they have high levels of testosterone binding protein, meaning the testosterone effect. See, as a result, the Japanese men have the lowest levels of active testosterone because that testosterone is being bound by SHBG. Now, Asian men who had moved to the US had similar testosterone levels to residents of European descent. So just in that environment had an influence. Does it really? Of course it has an influence. Okay. Now, diets could play a role. Not could, they do play a role. When therapeutic levels of free estradiol, they found they were between 10 and 16% higher in men of African ancestry living in Tobago or the US than in any other group. The team says this suggests a genetic influence. Japanese men, on the other hand, had relatively low levels of free estradiol. Okay, let me tell you. So, estradiol, free estradiol, were found to be higher in African men, in men of African ancestry living in Tobago or the US than in any other group. That really doesn't tell us much, except that if they had a look at African men who weren't living in those, meaning they're not looking at the genetic aspect, why would their estradiol is the type of estrogen, by the way, why would their estrogen be higher? Oh, interesting. But low levels of free estradiol in Japanese men. So what? They have low levels of active free testosterone as well. Yeah. Remember, in men, a majority of the testosterone comes from the aromatization. So there's an enzyme called aromatase. Testosterone goes in, it changes the chemical structure of testosterone and turns it into estrogen. Actually, if you go to go on Google or something like that and just type in chemical structure estrogen or estradiol, chemical structure testosterone, for the layperson they'll say, oh, it's the exact same thing. Okay, they're very similar. So these hormones interplay. Okay, you can't. That's why if you want to optimize your hormonal profile, it has to include looking at all these sex hormones, not just testosterone. You have to look at your estrogens, your progesterones, other intermediates, other steroid intermediates. But anyways, I digress. Let's continue. Okay. Now, this should have been put at the end, but Sika Tharapora. Okay, so guys, have a read of this book if you can. I haven't read the entire book. I know the general premise of the book. There's a lot of hormone disruptors. There are a lot of hormone disruptors. This disruption that's happening is not happening by accident. There's a lot of things in the environment that are causing disruption of hormones. And remember, in the male, you increase estrogen, testosterone goes down. Okay, it's not just a matter of, oh, okay, we have low testosterone. No, there are phytochemicals, for example, in some plants. Yeah, why have they called the term soy boy? Because you have phytoestrogens in soy that actually go and bind to the estrogen receptor in your hypothalamus, which is supposed to be a mechanism to sense the total concentration of these sex hormones. When it binds to the hypothalamus, it tells it, okay, it activates, it agonizes the receptor, and it tells it, okay, we have an abundance of this estrogen. Yeah, remember, although it's a plant estrogen, a phytoestrogen, it's still docking on the same receptor that the estrogens normally would, your endogenous estrogens normally would. And then your hypothalamus goes, okay, this estrogen must have been produced as a result of aromatization of testosterone. Therefore, let's reduce LH and FSH and prevent the downstream secretion of testosterone because we're sufficient, although we're not. Same thing. The plastics, you guys remember BPA that was found in little children's baby bottles and things like that? Now everyone is avoiding BPA drink bottles. Why? Search what BPA is. Go on Google, type in BPA. What is it? It docks on the estrogen receptor. It's a synthetic estrogen agonist. Okay? Or it acts as if it is. And it does. It interacts with the estrogen receptor. Not good. Now, why is this important? Because I can tell you, I've shown you, testosterone is dropping. We have more of these hormone disruptors. Okay? Males are more estrogenic and less androgenic than ever before. And that trend is continuing forward. Now, does that mean there is a problem of masculinity? Okay? Now I have to show you, does testosterone, how we answer this question, does testosterone influence the behavior of animals or people? Yes. It is well known that in many species, testosterone level mediates the expression of dominance. And one end of the spectrum, high testosterone, and the submission when people have low testosterone. High testosterone males tend to be dominant, while low testosterone males tend to be submissive. Okay? Lower testosterone leads to actual mental disorders. If you go look at the DSM a few decades ago, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, right? One of the treatments for depression in men was actually injecting them testosterone. Because we know when we give men testosterone, it wakes them up. Okay? It makes the environment seem a lot less scary. They're a lot less anxious. They're a lot more driven. Okay? So we know there's a very strong correlation between the expression of these androgens and the mental state of the individual. They perceive dominance, right? Remember the last video I talked about before? If you perceive yourself high within the dominance hierarchy in response to acute stresses, you actually fortify yourself by releasing more testosterone. Interesting. Let's continue. Now we're looking at rodent-based studies. So deficits in testosterone are associated with anxious responses to threat, as indicated by behavioral freezing, fear-induced analgesia, increased startle response, and inhibited expiratory behavior. When you are low in testosterone, you're a little bitch. That's in rat studies, in rodent studies, and this is also in humans. So this is a study of humans now. One study found that low basal testosterone was associated with anxiety in male adolescents, and another suggested that low prenatal testosterone in utero may be associated with anxiety in adulthood. We know right now the hormonal profile of women who are pregnant is different than it was before. So literally the child is being attacked at a hormonal level before it's even born. Is there no crisis of masculinity? There's physiological evidence to tell us that things are changing. It doesn't take just Gabriella Romani to tell us, hey, look, men are becoming less masculine. This is happening at a physiological level. How do you guys deny this? Okay, this was just a simple cohort. That a study in, I don't know which university, whatever it was, they took males, okay, and they did a study on them based on this evidence, and they essentially proved the hypothesis again. So, among anxious males, dominant state of that is a substantial drop in testosterone. Remember what I told you? What happens? If you're an anxious male, you're already low in testosterone, you believe yourself to be lower in the dominance hierarchy, a threat further makes you anxious, makes you subordinate, makes you unable to move forward. Okay? Inhibited expiratory behavior. A man is supposed to go and explore his boundaries. A man is supposed to not feel, I'm not saying don't feel fear, but man, a lot of people, like you look at them and it's disgusting. You're a man, you shouldn't be acting like this. It's actually disgusting. I am repulsed by feminine men. Anyways, let's not get into a round of this. Men, boys, it's our responsibility to make sure, first and foremost, we need to optimize our hormonal profile. We can't be running around with disrupted hormones that literally affect the way we think. How can you be, you're fighting your physiology. If you fix your physiology, being a man will be something that comes naturally. Yeah? Testosterone makes hard things enjoyable. How would you know what that feels like if you've never done it? Go to a doctor, test your levels, fix your vitamin D, take zinc, take possibly creatine, perform some resistance exercises, okay? Fix your diet. Do these basic things. If you have a system, we know there's a mind-body relationship. Yeah, there's a connection. It's a very strong connection. If not the organic formation of our mind, our brain. Does that not affect our mood? Of course it does. Fix it if you have to. Really, go to a doctor. See your testosterone levels. If they're low, make that your first medical priority to fix. If you can't fix it through natural means, through supplementation, through exercise, through fixing your diet, I would strongly suggest going and getting a referral to an endocrinologist and possibly commencing testosterone replacement therapy. Yes, it's that important. So there is definitely a crisis of masculinity. Thank you guys for your time, and inshallah I'll elaborate on some of these points because it's just ridiculous how people deny that there's no crisis of masculinity.